This is TWiT.
I received an email from a very delightful service I use called Have I Been Pwned? And it was letting me know that I had indeed been pwned. If you are not familiar with the Have I Been Pwned service, it is a service that basically combs through the internet and finds different data breaches, looks at those data breaches, looks at the data that's made available, finds the contact information that you have made available to the service, typically email, and then lets you know via email that you are included in this data breach, that your data has been released somewhere online. And you can actually go to the Have I Been Pwned website and type in your email address and see the number of websites or services that have been pwned in the past, and your data has been made available there. So I get an email from them. I know, oh, great, here's another one that's involved. And I thought, I always think, okay, I'm not too concerned because I do use a password manager, so it's probably just the password for this site and this site alone. I'll be able to change it, that kind of thing. Well, I saw it was the Internet Archive, which is responsible for the Wayback Machine for people who are more familiar with that terminology. And the Internet Archive is an organization that aims to archive the internet, to keep history of the internet. And the Wayback Machine is a tool you can use to look at cached versions of websites. So as websites change over time, if you're looking for a previous version of that content, you can pop in a URL and see if it had been cached, aka kind of archived, stored in a previous version so you can view it. And the first thing I thought was, wait, I have an Internet Archive account? Because I'm just used to going to to the Wayback Machine and typing something in. So I didn't even know that I could create an account, to be honest with you. But then I looked at my 1Password, and yes, I did indeed have an Internet Archive account. Well, here's the deal. Shortly after I got that email, I started to see news about Internet Archive. And it turns out that 31 million unique records were taken from the site. And so this database, this user authentication database, this is according to Bleeping Computer's Lawrence Abrams, included names, email addresses, password change timestamps, so you could see when the password had been changed over time, and then hashed passwords, plus some other kind of internal data for the organization. Internet Archive, or rather, Bleeping Computer was reached out to by, and I'm sorry for that passive voice there, by a security researcher who did confirm, yes, this was my Internet Archive account. Yes, this was my password. Yes, it's hashed here, and it does show up. But here's the thing: along with this breach that exposed the data of 31 million users, there was also, at the same time, well, I shouldn't say at the same time, in the same span of time, a distributed denial of service attack, a DDoS attack. And this was done by a group, or it was claimed to have been done by a group called the Black Meta Hacktivist Group, who said, and I quote, "The Internet Archive has and is suffering from a devastating attack. We have been launching several highly successful attacks for 5 long hours, and to this moment, all their systems are completely down." They were able to briefly bring the site back up long enough to disable the JavaScript library that was responsible for, when you went to the Internet Archive website, a prompt popping up that said, and I quote, "Have you ever felt like the Internet Archive runs on sticks and is constantly on the verge of suffering a catastrophic security breach? It just happened. See 31 million of you on HIBP. HIBP, of course, is Have I Been Pwned?" So the JavaScript library was disabled, and there was also kind of they apparently did more with security. They said we upgraded security. But unfortunately, another DDoS attack happened right afterward. And so now if you go to archive.org, at least as of this morning, it is just displaying a web page that says temporarily offline. Internet Archive services are temporarily offline. Please check our Twitter feed. Interesting. For the latest information, we apologize for the inconvenience. So the site is not currently up. And as far as we know, there's no connection between the DDoS attack that's going on and the data that has been exfiltrated from the group or from the organization. we don't know why they're doing a DDoS attack. And it's so weird to me that they're doing a DDoS attack against a group that exists for like the sole purpose of betterment of the internet and the widespread of free and open data. It's all very confusing. And it's interesting to see two separate things that are allegedly, reportedly not connected happening at the same time. It's all happening against the Internet Archive. I guess I'm curious, Dan.
Yeah.
When you saw this, were you concerned? Was this one of the places where if you did have an account, you were using one of those old passwords that you use a bunch, across a bunch of different sites that aren't as important, or were you okay? How was your experience?
I was checking to see. It's like I still don't know if I have an account or not. I've certainly used the Internet Archive. I have used the Wayback Machine for many, many years, but I don't recall ever having made an account. And I didn't get a notification, or it went to a spam filter that I didn't actually catch at some point. I will say a couple things about the Internet Archive. One, like many institutions kind of its type, it is, I think they have struggled to keep up with the tenets of their mission, in the sense that they are clearly something that does not have wealth unlimited, resources unlimited, and perhaps then does not have the ability to hire the kind of people that they need in order to keep everything being run in that order. So that I don't know. There are some choices that they have made in recent years that I have not been as big a fan of. For example, their decision to start the lending library that they started a while back, which during the pandemic, then they opened up kind of unlimited, and now they've been sued by a bunch of different publishers. And I find myself thinking, like, I understand why you felt that you needed to go down that path as the Internet Archive, but I will point out those things are not on the internet. Maybe you should have stuck the internet stuff, just because it feels like a dilution of the mission, and it thus is something that draws more resources from it. And by essentially putting themselves in a situation to have legal action taken against them, they have risked their long-term longevity,
right,
of these other important tasks that they do. And I think their intentions are very good overall, and I have no qualm with that. I think some of their execution has been tricky, and I wonder if some of this has set them up for, people targeting them, or them finding themselves in the crosshairs because people are upset about decisions that have made related to them or not. But, I don't know.
Are you telling me that a coalition of book writers have gathered together and paid?
I am not saying that. I am most specifically not saying that. I have no proof. But I think it is a issue where you have cases where, going from being something that was kind of a, perhaps little known, or a site that didn't garner a lot of attention, to something that is much more public and finding itself, with a lot of publicity about it, a lot of stories about it, just raises the profile of it as an attack target. And that's not necessarily, again, it's not their fault. In the same way that we saw increases in malware on Apple platforms when Apple platforms became more popular, because it was just a bigger, more lucrative target to attack. So I wonder if by having the Internet Archive become a more prominent thing that more people were aware of, people who get their yayas out by attacking sites, taking down sites, hacking into sites, decided, oh, this is a prominent target, and I'll get a lot of attention if I attack this target. And it may be a target that, as it turns out, was not as well secured, right? It's, if your comparison is, ooh, I could hack into the FBI because that'll really make my name. Well, the FBI is going to get annoyed if you do that, and they have the resources to track you down. The Internet Archive, unfortunately, probably does not have the resources to go after you if you hack into their site. So I think it's unfortunate. I also saw a story related to this in which I gather the archive had a quote unquote glitch earlier this year that resulted in the deletion of a lot of accounts. And some people tried to get basically get in touch with them to get more details about that, and they never responded. Which is also not a good look. Maybe they're just overwhelmed, maybe they're overworked, maybe they don't have enough resources. All of these things can be true. So at the end of the day, my feeling is the Internet Archive is an extremely valuable resource. We should protect it in so much as we can. But it is also challenging because we live in a world where people don't necessarily want to pay the money or support the causes that are valuable because they just don't. Wikipedia has the same problem, right? So,
I think the last thing I'll say about it too is that we can't discount the very loud, very well-known voices that regularly encourage the dislike and more of journalists and the media. Yeah. And this is a tool that is used by especially tech and surrounding area journalists all day, every day. Yeah. And the idea that not only is their data exposed, but also the tool that they use regularly is unavailable to them. Sure. Yeah. That I wonder if that could be a motivation as well. Again, this is speculation as much as my joke about authors, gathering together.
I'm also going to tell you book writers don't have enough money to hire.
No, you can't pay whatever it was called, Black Meta?
Black Meta.
We don't have the money for that. I'm sorry.